Hey, what's up? This is Thomas Piper of the People's Republic of Sound, and this is Beatdesign, where I make live improv electronic music. So today I'm going to rock. I also have some cool video stuff after this Beatdesign, so check it out. All right, let's get popping. Hey, I was at Machines and Music. It's a great modular synth event, and they had a wonderful talk about the late Don Buchla, who just passed away, the great synthesizer pioneer. So check out this talk. It's great to learn about synthesis, and a little on the geeky side, but I think it's really cool. It's a great event. I shot it with an Osmo Mobile, a stabilizer with an iPhone, so I might have been moving around a little too much. I was just playing with it, just enjoying it. I just got it, so if it makes you a little queasy, sorry, but enjoy the talk. Beatdesign, People's Republic of Sound. I'm out.
He was a really hard person to read. He was well, what I was told by David Keane was, you have a pencil? Notes for how to talk to Don. And he said, prepare yourself for really, really long, uncomfortable pauses. So it's the worst combination of me, like the guy who talks too much, and then Don, the guy who doesn't feel the need to answer a question I just asked him. But he said, don't feel the need to fill those, Don's just contemplating his answer. Because he's only going to say what is absolutely necessary. And if you watch I think the last interview that was ever done with Don, Mark Vail did just a few months ago, and it's really fun to watch Mark talk about all these things, like go on this big run of importance. Like, you know, you were in Berkeley in the 60s and you were a part of all these interesting things, and there was so much going on politically, and there were these events, and there was music, and you were the electric Kool-Aid acid test, and how was that? And he said, it was okay. So, you know, it's kind of his speed. What happened? What did I do? Oh.
This is my favorite patch because it kind of writes the music for you. Basically what's going on here is, so if we just hear the sound, I just program to scale. Very impressionistic whole time. So then, if you sweep it with an envelope generator, it sounds like a 1970s arcade game. But if you take another timed pulse and you ping it, it's like a sample and hold, like the pew, 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 pew. And it sounds like you meant to do that. And then, so you can change the rate of the thing that's, and you can wind up with these really interesting, yeah, I'm strobing. Yes, that's what I meant, ping, strobe. So, you can wind up with these little 3-4 note sequences that change a little every time, and it does its own theme and variations that way, which is great. And then at the end of the day, you feel like you didn't work as hard, which, you know.
Yeah, I think one of the great contributions is randomness. So when you're playing electronics, things get repetitive pretty quickly. If you don't watch out, and Don gives you so many options for random, and this strobing is one of them. So you take a control voltage and you know, with a pulse. I used this for last night in the concert. I don't know if any of you heard the concert. Did anybody hear the concert last night? Okay, so in that patch that's kind of rhythmic, I have I'm using the Mara for wave shape, and it's random. So you're strobing the mark and you're getting an unpredictable wave shape change that turns into a rhythm. So instead of getting something, you know, you only have 2 hands, and a rhythmic, or let's say, randomness is a great contribution to variety while you're playing, so that's all.
I think what we talked about before is that, not today, but about how in the acoustic world, variation and interest in sounds is automatic, but in electronic sounds, it's something that we have to introduce. So Don got really deep into into figuring out ways of not putting actual random factors into, but control. What he called the module source of uncertainty, and it was about having a way to take the chaos and rein it in to a musically useful set of variations. So some of those variations come in the form of fluctuating random voltages, which if we listen to the pitch, just that. This is the fluctuating random out of the 265 source of uncertainty, which is the original.
So that's the continuous random voltage, but the thing that I use a lot is the sample and hold random voltage. So like in the space last night, the quadraphonic space, if you move something in space, you're actually contributing a rhythm. So you can take a sustained tone and move it, and it will have the rhythm of motion, of spatial motion. So you have to be careful when you move something in space that you're not introducing a rhythm you don't want. And so what I would do last night is I took a pulse from the sequencer and had a sample and hold random voltage directing the space discretely in 4 directions. So it was random, but pulsing with the rhythm of the music. So that's another use for the random, but the controlled random.
An interesting thing that he did with that concept on the 265, his first source of uncertainty, is that there's a correlation control. I love this. The correlation control is actually a feedback around a sample and hold. So it's controlling how much correlation there is from one sample to the next. So with absolute correlation, when the pulse comes in, it doesn't change the voltage coming out at all. And so this is a sample and hold. This is a sample and hold that's sampling some random voltage. It's actually a triangle wave that's really high frequency, that's hard synced to noise. So the concept there was that if it was just noise, then the distribution of the samples wouldn't be uniform. So in this case with the triangle wave, it's actually an equal amount of distribution of the voltages across the entire range. And this correlation control, I could be wrong on this, but I think this is the only place that appears in any synthesizer is this module. But the correlation control is really cool. It's an analog series of sampled voltages, but you have the ability to rein in. It's not controlling how wide the range is. It's not like attenuating the series of voltages. It's actually controlling how far each step can be from the last step. So with high correlation, it will work its way around the whole random range, but it just will take its time getting there.
I think there's a general trend in Buchla's designs that things get more and more complex. So what you're telling us is this lovely option on this module. When you go into the 200E series, you've got maybe 4 or 5 of these, rheostats or influences on the voltage. So you have a slew, you have different, not just the triangle, but you can choose different wave shapes that are it gets so complicated. And then, your voltage processor is so complicated that he can't even explain it. It's like, he doesn't even know how it works. So things get more and more, this is what I love about the early system, is that you can distill the concepts that he had. The concepts are separate. There's this hierarchy of design, and on the very top, you have, what it is you're implementing. And of course, what the beauty of Don was that, as Mark was saying, he designs from the outside in. So you can distill these concepts about, what it is you're implementing, and those don't change over time. It's like the difference between fashion and I don't know, style or whatever. You know, there are things that are classic, and his designs are classic. They are timeless. The things that he envisioned are not, you know, we think of technology as changing every day, and it's like it's always moving and it's always different. But, you know, in a way it's not, because in instrument design, the technology really is a servant, and it's a servant to the concepts, and the concepts can be classic. And that's what, you know, we are trying to aim for in a performance instrument. You know, the great instruments had classic qualities, the piano, the violin, the things, you know, in the time of evolution of these instruments, there were, you know, maybe 100 different manifestations of a keyboard instrument. All kinds of variations, but a certain thing just rose to the top because it was, you know, it distilled the classic design. And so that's what I try to get from, I think you'd find that in the early systems.
Well, you find at the time, electronic music consisted of recording things onto tape and cutting the tape up, or using feedback or test equipment to make sounds. And so they wanted to find an engineer who could build this thing. So they found Don, and actually Mort said that several people were interested in doing it, but Don was by far the weirdest, so that's why they went with him. But he came up with all of the ideas. Basically, Mort listened to classical music, and he tried to imagine with the original list of what the modules would be that Don made, and then these drawings on paper of what the panels would be. He tried to imagine how he would make pieces of classical music using these modules. How would you patch it together and get it to happen? And that's where largely the original ideas for, there's no way to do that, so there's no way to, I don't know, like how to equalize it, or there's no way to change the volume, you know, this way, so we need to create a module that will do that. But for some reason it didn't occur to them that you would ever want to change the pitch of the oscillator from the panel control and send a CV in externally, because there's a switch on these oscillators to select if the CV in or the panel control is active.
A funny thing that I just discovered doing an interview with Mort a year ago was that he never thought of the Buchla as a performance instrument. So he wanted Don to make something where he could come up with a sound and record it, and then come up with another sound and record it. And that's how he made Silver Apples. You know, it was a lovely recording, and he used the Buchla as the, you know, sound source. And I think what's interesting is that, you know, Don, when he started out, yes, Mort was his catalyst for getting started, but he quickly discovered, you know, a new domain, which is, you know, his trajectory of making it an instrument. And they were never in agreement on that. I would say, but Mort, you didn't think this was a performance instrument? And he said, oh, Don thought that. I mean, that was ridiculous. So it's really funny because, you know, Don evolved, and he made all these wonderful interfaces that I never played, the thunder and the lightning and the marimba lumina. You know, he's a true instrument designer.
Speaking of that, the Don Buchla, Mort Subotnick thing, my favorite story, which Mark might have even told me, I don't know, it's someone else. But, you know, Don Buchla is credited with inventing the analog sequencer. And when he took his first design, the Mort Subotnick, the idea was, you know, you used to have to record a test oscillator to tape, and then cut different lengths of the tape with these different frequencies of the test oscillator together to make your melody. So Subotnick said, can I have something where, you know, that'll do that automatically? So Buchla comes with his first sequencer, and he says, here you go. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. What do you think? Like, yeah, great. Can you make it repeat? And then that's really what the sequencer means to us, is something that repeats. But it was originally just designed to do one sequence that stops, you record it to tape, and then you change whatever you want the motive to be. So.